Yo, welcome to the Hoop Objective Podcast with your boy Armani. Yesterday had some interesting games, play out another day of playoffs. Y'all know how I get down. I watch every game and we're gonna break down it all. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna get started with the recap of yesterday's playoff games. I want to start with the first one, which was the Bulls, losing another game, another home game actually, the second home game loss in the playoffs to the Bucks. They lose 119-95 off of Giannis's 32 points, 17 rebounds, and 7 assists. Holiday's 26 points and 7 assists, and Grayson Allen coming off the bench, 27 points, making 6 out of 7 of his three-pointers attempted. So, yesterday, the Bucks, they had a good game, especially coming off of Holiday's, coming off of me saying Holiday needs to, step up, which he is stepping up. And we're going to get deeper into that series later on. Also, the Nuggets narrowly avoids getting swept by the Warriors. They win that game 126-121 off of Jokic's 37 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. And Monte Morris making an appearance, stepping up with 24 points and, shooting 5 of 7 from the three-point line. Then, the Splash Brothers, they also showed up. Steph had 33 and 8, and Clay had 32 with, making 7 threes. So, but nevertheless, Jokic and the Nuggets avoid getting swept, and, Warriors are up 3-1. Going back to Golden State. And y'all know how I get talking about my Heat, but, we go ahead and we beat Atlanta 110-86 off of Jimmy G Buckets. Y'all know what the G stand for. Off of his 36 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 steals. And, we limited Trae Young to 9 points and 5 turnovers. That's the third game he's had like that. So, Miami, we go up 3-1, going back to Miami. Last but not least, New Orleans beats Phoenix again. They tie the series 2-2 off of Jonas Valanciunas, underrated big in this league, off of his 26 points and 15 rebounds. Then you got B.I., stepping up again with his 30 points. He dropped a 30-piece yesterday. But CP3 in both games that the Suns have lost, he's had under 10 points. He had 4 points, shooting 2 from 8 from the field, and for a player of his caliber, that's bad. That's very, very bad, especially without D-Book. But we're gonna get into that later. But the first topic that we have actually for today is, I want to talk about Brooklyn. I don't know what's wrong with Brooklyn. Actually, I do know what's wrong with Brooklyn. And the problem is that they're more trouble than we thought. When I say I don't know what's wrong with them, I mean, we had high expectations for them and they're not meeting it. But I do know why they're not meeting expectations. And there's so many reasons that, most people didn't take into account, even me, honestly. Going into the year or even during the year when it was obvious that Brooklyn had some issues, which is, why they end up in the 7th seed. So, the first thing I want to mention is that the Celtics are exposing all of these issues that, we all put aside when it came to Brooklyn. They're showing that building chemistry is, way more important, to build over the season than most people think. Because when it comes to Brooklyn, we look at them like they got so much talent. They got KD and Kyrie, so they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out later. They'll build the chemistry later. They'll work. They're still championship contenders, and Boston is showing us that it's like, nah, it's not like that. Because Boston spent all year building their chemistry. Because let's not forget, Boston started off 21-20. Boston wasn't doing good either, and they continue to build that chemistry. They continue playing together, working together, and now you can see the results of that. They have that late surge. They have that late season surge at the end of the year. They become the number one team offensively and defensively. And so they're showing us what Brooklyn should have been doing throughout the year is building that chemistry. And Kyrie, he's starting to see that, building that chemistry is way more important than he initially thought. Because with Kyrie, he missed out, all that time out of the season when it comes to, the vaccine and then, whatever the case may be, the vaccine politics. So, Kyrie missed most of the year, with that. And, even in his previous years with Brooklyn, he's missed, games with injuries and things of that nature. So Kyrie never really gotten, settled with Brooklyn, even after being with them for 3 years. And, you see Kyrie talk about in that press conference how, Brooklyn is starting to see how important chemistry is. He's starting to see that, they really need that. But I honestly think he's starting to say that as an excuse more than, him realizing what's going on. Kyrie's, trying to make an excuse for, his actions and then the actions of the team when it comes to, the way they're playing in this series. So, but any team that has aspirations of trying to win a championship, bro, y'all should really be trying to build that chemistry throughout the year, because that could really hamper you when it comes to trying to, go win the chip. And even with Golden State has been injured really all year. They've never had their full squad all year. And, a lot of people have been saying that's going to be an issue, especially because they got those new guys that didn't, they weren't on those championship runs with KD and Steph and Clay and Draymond, or even before KD came. They were not like guys like Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga. Those guys weren't on that, those championship winning teams. But the difference is Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and even Kevon Looney, they've been playing for years, a decade even. So, and they've won championships together. Those three know exactly how to play with each other. So, as long as those guys are acclimated into what they're trying to do, they could bring the other guys along. When it comes to Brooklyn, they've never won a championship together. They've never made a deep playoff run together. So it's like you can't. It's not the same thing. Brooklyn can't do what Golden State can do because Golden State already has prior chemistry. They already know what they're gonna do. When it comes to Brooklyn, they have no idea. They don't know each other. Even KD and Kyrie, who are, they consider themselves best friends or whatever the case may be. They don't have the chemistry like that either. Why? Because they haven't played together. They really haven't played together, even after being in Brooklyn for 3 years. And this is starting to show, you're starting to see a lot of why Harden didn't want to be there. A lot of people got on Harden for, apparently quitting on the Nets and not wanting to be there or whatever the case may be. But you're starting to see why. You're starting to see why Harden was like, I'm good. Because Kyrie was barely playing. KD was barely playing. That team was all out of sorts. They had no chemistry. They didn't know how to play with each other. You can see why Harden didn't want to be there. You're starting to see in this series why Harden didn't want to be there. And they don't even have a system. When you watch the Nets play offensively, bro, defensively, they've gotten a little better in the playoffs. I'll give them props for that. Like, they're not as bad of a defensive team as they were in the regular season. But when it comes to the offensive end, bro, it doesn't look good. Other than Bruce Brown picking his spots and getting his, because Bruce Brown is the only, honestly, in my opinion, he's the only bright spot they've had offensively. Because, it feels like Bruce Brown, in a sense, is playing within his own system. Because he's picking and choosing his spots, he's cutting, he's getting his shots where he can. When it comes to the rest of the team, it's like Kyrie and KD are isoing, and then when they don't got their shots at the end of the shot clock, they get it to somebody. They find someone, because they couldn't get open because of whoever that one-on-one defender is, because Boston has so many one-on-one defenders that they could throw on this KD and Kyrie, that whenever they're not going to get shots one-on-one most of the time. So most of the time what it looks like is KD and Kyrie isoing for about 10 to 15 seconds into the shot clock, and then they kick it out to a teammate and they get a hurry up shot. They don't get a shot in rhythm. So my thing with that is, it's like, bro, that's a bad system. They have they don't even have a system. They don't have a system. It's ISO, 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 and when you don't got a shot, pass, kick it out, find someone for a last minute shot, in the shot clock, a last second shot in the shot clock, and that's not conducive to winning a championship. And that is to be blamed on Steve Nash. I was gonna say Steve Kerr, but it's to be blamed on Steve Nash, because Steve Nash is the coach. He's responsible for, putting his guys in the best position to win. He's responsible for, coming up with a system that can, promote, or what's the word? That can put the abilities of his players in, he can, how am I struggling saying this? He has to create a system that puts his players in the best position with their abilities. If y'all know what I mean. I don't know why I'm struggling to get that out, but Steve Nash has to put his guys in the best position to, win. Just win, period, bro. KD, when KD was in Golden State, it's not like they neglected his ISO abilities, but at the same time, KD had to play within the system. He had to play within the system, they had to move the ball, they had to cut, they had to, there's certain things that KD had to do playing within the system. And, when things didn't work out when it comes to playing within the system, then Golden State went to ISO. Then Golden State was like, all right, get KD the ball, let him do his thing. If they couldn't get anything running plays or running the system the way they usually do. And same thing with Kyrie. When Kyrie was in Cleveland, he had to play within the system, and you can see the results. They both end up winning championships on on their respective old teams. But when it comes to being in Brooklyn, bro, neither of them are playing within the system. Neither of them are playing team basketball. It's mostly ISO basketball, and then they play team basketball when they can't get a shot up, and that's not going to win you a championship. That's not going to win you a championship at all. And they're a very talented duo, bro. Like that's one of the most talented duos that honestly you're ever gonna see. But when it comes to, and I'm not gonna say it's not, they don't fit, but when it comes to putting a team together to go win a chip, those two guys aren't, like, when it comes to the way they play, those aren't the two best. Those are not the guys you want to be your two best players necessarily, because neither of them are playmakers, and both of them honestly play super similar. They both play that ISO ball handling, get their own shot, type players. Neither of them are a Steph Curry who's super unselfish and gets his guys uses his gravity to get his guys shot. Neither of them are LeBron, who's gonna, throughout the first 2 to 3 quarters, he's getting his guys the ball, trying to get them, going, and then he's gonna get his later. Neither of them are those type of guys. Both of them are the same type of player, and then on top of that, the rest of the team just they're not moving. It's not like a system. They're all lurking. So it's like, what the Brooklyns expect to do is play a Rucker Park type game, and a street ball type game all the way to the finals, and that's not gonna happen, bro. This isn't street ball. This is an NBA. You're playing against guys who's just as good as you. And Jason Tatum's showing that, like, he's in the tier, that same type of tier with KD. So KD can't just expect to do his thing and play Rucker Park basketball and go to the finals. That's not gonna happen, bro. That's not gonna happen. Steve Nash, and I feel like Steve Nash is a guy. He's a guy that types, that KD likes, that Kyrie likes, that they kind of just threw in there. They try to, look like they have a coach and look like they have something going on. But honestly, it looks like Steve Nash is a puppet, bro. Steve Nash he's not coaching anything. He's just there, honestly. The way the Nets are playing is the way Kyrie and KD wanted to play, not the way that Steve Nash wanted to play. And that brings me back to the Nets firing Kenny Atkinson, who I thought did a great job. He did a great job, especially when it came to that rebuild. I don't know if y'all remember in 2018, that team with D'Lo and, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, that really young, talented team that Kenny Atkinson actually put their talents on a pedestal. He made them better. He made them play better, which is why they made the playoffs. None of us expected them to make the playoffs that year, but they did. And ended up even winning a game versus Philly. So it's like, I don't understand why they fired him in place of Steve Nash, which is, it sounds like a pedigree name. It sounds like a pedigree thing. It sounds like something, that they took KD's advice on. That's something KD wanted, and it's not looking good for them, bro. It's not looking good for them. Y'all remember when Kyrie was like, we don't need a coach. And then he ends up apologizing for it later. But that first statement shows what he really thinks. He thinks him and KD don't need a coach because they're so good and they're so experienced and they're so skilled. And this whole skill conversation to me also makes no sense. This whole, Kyrie and KD are the most skilled because they're the best shot creating scorers, and it's like, I don't know. These narratives are really starting to get tired, bro. Because the most skilled doesn't mean the best. It doesn't mean the most conducive to winning games or winning championships. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. And the Nets are always injured. That's another thing that's wrong with the Nets. They're always injured. KD's gonna miss 20 to 30 games a year. Kyrie's gonna miss 30 to 50 games a year. Ben Simmons was out all year, and he's still going. I don't know what he got going on with his back soreness. Apparently, he was gonna play Game 4. He was ready to play Game 4. He said he was gonna play Game 4. The Nets were ready for him to play Game 4. But after losing Game 3, now all of a sudden Ben Simmons got back soreness, and it's like, bro, we know what you're doing, bro. We know what you're doing. And then to go back and file a case against Philly for grievances to get the money that they took away from him back. And it's like, you didn't earn any of that money. None of that money that they took from you is something that you earned, because you didn't play not a minute of basketball. You never showed up to OTAs. You never showed up to practice. You didn't earn that money. And I feel like this is kind of a move to kind of, support his case and trying to get that money back to prove that he was really injured. And it's like, bro, we know what you're really doing, bro. Because I feel like if Brooklyn would have won Game 3, he would have played Game 4 because they would have had a chance. But now that Brooklyn doesn't have a chance of winning the series, now you got back soreness. And now it's like, now you're like, Brooklyn and Ben Simmons are like, because now that you have back soreness and now that you're not 100%, we're not going to throw you in a playoff game, especially being down 3-0. And it's like, what's really going on with Ben Simmons? What's really going on with Ben Simmons in that situation? It seems fishy to me, bro. It don't seem real. Man, honestly, if I was a teammate of Ben Simmons, I wouldn't be happy with him, because it's like, you say you're gonna play Game 4, and now that you got a little soreness, you don't want to play, and especially because they're down 3-0. After going down 3-0, it don't look good on him, bro. It doesn't. And something I also wanted to address is this KD being the best player in the world talk. Okay, so let me start from scratch. People think or say that KD is the best player in the world because apparently he's the most skilled player in the league at his height, which, I can understand that. They say he's the most skilled player at his height. He's the best scorer, and I guess after last year's playoff run, KD, he was dragging the Nets against the Bucks and nearly beating the Bucks last year, which is, honestly, after that series, it's like, okay, you can't really argue against KD being the best player in the world, right? But when you actually compare him to other players, how could he really be like? Think about it like this. For years, right? Everyone was saying that LeBron's better than KD. LeBron's the best player in the world. And why is that? Because LeBron was winning first and foremost. He was going to the finals every year and he was winning rings, right? LeBron makes his teammates better, and he gets his teammates involved, especially as a playmaker. LeBron is the best playmaker, and he was the best playmaker in the world for years, a decade even. He was a really good defender for years. LeBron's super clutch. LeBron's a good scorer now. He's a good shooter now. So when it comes to LeBron, how we see LeBron is LeBron makes the most impact to any given game in the world. So LeBron is the best player in the world, right? So if that's the case, why are we changing it up now that Giannis is in that same position? Giannis is in that same exact position. Giannis is the best defender in the world, perimeter and inside D. He does it all, bro. Giannis is the best defender in the world. Giannis is one of the best playmakers in the world, especially at his size. Giannis could push the break as a 7-footer. So Giannis can play guard and, for a certain part of the game at 6'11", 7 foot. So Giannis is the best defender. Giannis is a really good playmaker. Giannis could push the break. Giannis is becoming a better shooter. He's becoming a better shooter every year, especially from the free throw line, because the free throw line is an indicator of how good of a shooter you really are. And Giannis is becoming better from the free throw line every year, and he's becoming a better mid-range shooter, and he can spot up from 3 when he's wide open, which is big for him. And also, Giannis is the most dominant big in the league. Because in the paint, bro, he's unguardable. Y'all see that? He's unguardable. Giannis is unguardable in the paint. He's a most effective paint scorer in the league. Not the prettiest, but the most effective. So Giannis is the most dominant, the most dominant player in the paint. Giannis is becoming a better shooter / scorer. Giannis is the best defender in the league. Giannis can be a playmaker at times during the game, and Giannis could push the break. Giannis literally has zero weakness in his game other than, his shooting can still improve, but it is improving every year. And Giannis is a Finals MVP. He is an NBA champion. He is a 2-time league MVP, and he's a Defensive Player of the Year. How is Giannis not the best player in the world? Was my question for a while now. How is Giannis not the best player in the world? Because KD is a prettier scorer? KD's a prettier scorer, so that makes him the best player in the league. That's all he can do better than Giannis is scoring, and he's a better ball handler. All right? He's a better... And even when it comes to scoring, Giannis is putting up just as much, he's putting up just as much volume as KD is. Giannis was second in the league in scoring this year, only behind Joel Embiid. So he averaged 29 a game. So even when it comes to scoring, Giannis is not that far behind KD. Yes, it's not the prettiest. Yes, it's not as skilled. Yes, he's not as good of a he's not as good of a ball handler. Yes, he's not as good of a shooter. Okay, yes. But when it comes to sheer volume, Giannis is putting up the same, if not more, volume in terms of scoring than KD. So this whole narrative that KD is better than Giannis because he's more skilled is crazy to me. Giannis has been the best player in the world for a while. And I say all that to say that most of y'all still think KD's the best player in the world, which he isn't, but most of y'all still think that. And I believe that this series is showing you that he's not. Because say what you want, you gotta give the Celtics defense credit. The Celtics defense has been stifling. The Celtics defense has been, putting a stop to not only KD but Kyrie and the rest of those guys. So you gotta give the Celtics defense credit where it's due because they have been doing their thing. They're the reason. They're a big part of the reason why KD is struggling like this. But let's switch out KD for Giannis. They not stopping Giannis like this. Let's be honest. Let's switch out KD for Giannis. Let's switch out KD for Jokic. Let's switch out KD for who else? Joel Embiid. The Celtics ain't putting a stop to those guys like they doing to KD right now. Let's be honest. And I'm not saying all those guys are better than KD. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, you can't make or even LeBron. Put LeBron in this series. LeBron, yes, he wouldn't be perfect, but LeBron would be still doing his thing. He wouldn't be getting stopped like this. Let's call it fade to fade, bro. Let's be real. So y'all can't call KD the best player in the world when the Celtics are showing you why he's not. You know? And also, if they get swept in the first round, bro, if the Nets get swept in the first round, I don't care what the excuses are going to be. I don't care about injuries. I don't care about chemistry. I don't care about none of that. What I do, because I said it earlier, but my point is that even after all that, y'all can't make no excuses for KD. Y'all can't give him nothing, bro, because y'all said he's the best player in the world. And the standards for the best player in the world is way higher than anybody else. I expect the best player in the world to be able to do some crazy things, bro. And KD's not doing that. Because all those standards and expectations that y'all put on LeBron or Steph or whoever, when they had bad games, y'all would get on them. Y'all would call them, chokers or whatever the case may be. Let's give that same energy to KD. I want y'all to give that same energy to KD. Because KD is not, y'all call him the best player in the world, but he don't look like that right now. So that's another issue with Brooklyn. Is KD not showing why he's the best player in the world. And honestly, he's not even playing bad to his standards. He's playing bad to anyone's standards. KD has been bad. He's been bad. And I just wanted to get that off my chest because, there's so much of this narrative with the Nets about them being able to flip a switch and how skilled they are and KD being the best in the world. And the Celtics are exposing that. They're exposing all of that right now. But I say all that to say that the Nets are talented enough. The talent isn't a problem. You got KD, who is, who's been said to be the best player in the world. You got Kyrie, who's been said to be the most skilled guard ever, apparently. Then you got Ben Simmons, who is hurt, but again, that is talent that's on your team. Then you got, he says he's hurt. Let's just say he says he's hurt. But that is talent you have on your team. Then you got Seth Curry, who's a really good role player who can, create his own shot and, be a good sharpshooter. You got Drummond, who can be a good rebounder. You got Claxton, who can come in and, give you good minutes. Like Patty Mills, who's a really good sharpshooter. So they have the pieces. Brooklyn has the pieces. But can they put it all together is what I'm saying. Can y'all put it all together? And a big part of that is on the coach and who y'all chose to be the coach. And especially if they get swept or even gentlemen swept this year, Steve Nash got to go, bro. Steve Nash has to go. Steve Nash is not your guy. And if KD gets mad, let him get mad about it. That's his guy. Whatever the case may be, fine. That's your guy. But he's not the guy to lead y'all to a championship. And also, one more thing about the Nets. I know I'm starting to get into a rant, but I want to say one more thing about the Nets is Kyrie. The thing with Kyrie, bro, he's due to be a free agent this offseason, right? And Stephen A said something that I thought was pretty, it was honestly pretty smart in my opinion. Is he said that if coming this offseason, especially because, Kyrie is the most unreliable player in the league. Kyrie is the most unreliable player in the league. It's always something. It's always something with him. Either whether if he's hurt, whether he doesn't want to play, but in the bubble because of, the protests or whatever was going on in the outside world, whether it's him not wanting to take the vaccine. Kyrie has been super unreliable, and he's proven to be unreliable every year. He misses 30 to 50 games every single year. And when it comes to a player like that, there's no way you could build chemistry. There's no way you can, get him acclimated the way you want to. And do you really want that issue long term? The Nets front office should think about that. Do you really want that problem with Kyrie long term? Honestly, in my opinion, it's not worth it. Even if he comes with KD, bro, it's not worth it. Having that issue on your team, having a problem like Kyrie on your team. So it's like, do y'all really want to give Kyrie a long-term deal with what he got going on and what he's been having going on for a while? I don't think y'all want to. I don't think Brooklyn should give him a long-term deal. Now, granted, Kyrie does deserve his money. He does deserve his money. Kyrie does deserve 40 to 50 mil, based on his, like Stephen A said. Honestly, this is one of the only things I agree with him on, based on the box office, the way he plays. He could get fans in the stadium. He can win you games when he plays. Super dynamic. Kyrie deserves 40 to 50 mil a year, of course, but not long term. You don't give Kyrie that money. You don't give him 40, 50 mil over 4 to 5 years. You give him that over a year or two. You don't give him that long term, because you're stuck with him at that point. And it's kind of doing that does kind of make things complicated, because KD just signed his long-term deal. I believe he signed a 4-year extension or something, a 3 or 4 year extension, something like that. I didn't look it up, but I know he signed like a 3 or 4 year extension. So you giving Kyrie these 1-year deals, or even letting him walk, makes it complicated with KD, because at that point, do you trade him? Do you keep him? Do you build around him? Is he happy? Is he not happy? It gets complicated at that point. But you can't give Kyrie a long-term deal, bro. You can't give Kyrie a long-term deal. When it comes to Kyrie, you got to give him 1 year, 2 years max. Give him 40 to 50 mil a year. Do that if you need to, but not on a long-term deal. Another thing that I want to talk about is, that was a lot, because I wanted to get that off my chest with the Nets, bro. The Nets they've been like, the media makes them seem like they're the favorites. They're the best team in the league, and they have so many issues that we all overlook. So I really wanted to get that off my chest and get that rant off, bro. I'm not gonna lie. But I also want to talk about this year's Rookie of the Year. Scotty Barnes just won it, man. I know Rookie of the Year isn't as impactful in the long run, but I want to talk about it because this year Rookie of the Year race was crazy, bro. You had so many guys who would have won Rookie of the Year if it wasn't for, having so many rookies this year being so good. Any of the rookies that were in the race for winning Rookie of the Year could have won it in any other year. That's how good this Rookie of the Year race was. Scotty Barnes, he wins it for it on the Raptors. He wins it after averaging 15 points a game and 7.5 rebounds on a playoff team. So let's not act like, those numbers are meaningless. Scotty Barnes provided those numbers on a playoff winning team. When it comes to Scotty, he's made a huge impact on them, especially considering how versatile he is. He can be a really good, perimeter defender, on-ball defender. You could throw him honestly on anyone, on any position 1 through 4. Scotty Barnes is not a selfish player. He can make the right plays to his teammates when needed. Scotty Barnes is a really good rebounder for his size. He's averaging almost 8 rebounds a game at 6'7". So he's providing you that. As a scorer, he's really good at slashing to the paint and getting layups and finishing around the paint, finishing around the rim, and getting those little mid-range shots that he gets. And he also on the defensive end, he does his thing. He also does his thing on the defensive end. So on the offensive end, he can be a playmaker. He can get his little mid-range shots. He can make a spot-up 3. He can finish around the rim. And defensively, he's super versatile. He could guard 1 through 4, and he can hold his own. So to be able to do that as a 19-year-old rookie is crazy, bro. Y'all can't underrate or berate what Scotty Barnes has been doing as a rookie. I know some people think Evan Mobley should have been Rookie of the Year, but I'm not mad at Scotty Barnes winning it. Scotty Barnes, especially on the playoff team, he deserves that Rookie of the Year. But this has been a crazy, bro. This race, bro, you got Evan Mobley, you got Cade Cunningham, you got Josh Giddy, you got Jalen Green. Any of those guys would have won it in any other year. Let's be honest, bro. Those guys have had a great year, an amazing year. And this year's class, or last year's class, 2021, has showed you, that this could be one of the best classes in a long time. This could be one of the best classes in a long time, especially considering how much talent has came out of it. Um, I'm excited to see how these guys play going forward. All these guys are not in bad situations, which is, crazy to say, because lottery picks are usually, they usually go into a terrible bad situation. But each of these guys, who is in the race this year, they're all in a pretty good position. With Evan Mobley being in Cleveland, with that Twin Tower lineup with him and Jarrett Allen. And then they got Darius Garland. They got Karis LeVert. They got a really good thing going in Cleveland. Even after, losing them the play-in and missing the playoffs. But they got a really good thing going there. And they're really going to be good going into the future. Then you got Cade Cunningham taking over the helm in Detroit. That's his team. And we all knew that was his team from day one. And Cade Cunningham, he had kind of a slow start. But, he's a 19-year-old rookie, and especially as a guard, it's going to take him some time to get acclimated in there. So, going in throughout the year, Cade Cunningham starts getting better and better, and, he's starting to really put his footprint on the Pistons when it comes to, his scoring and his all-around scoring. He's a three-level scorer, and on top of that, he gets his guys the balls in all the right spots. Pause. Pause. I can't believe I just said that. But y'all know what I mean. You know what I mean. Cade Cunningham has been really good, and he's gonna take over that franchise. He's gonna take that franchise to heights that they haven't been in a while. So Cade Cunningham, that's it for him. Then you got Jalen Green, who also had a slow start, and everyone was bashing him for being a inefficient scorer that doesn't make any impact on his team, whatever the case may be. But Jalen Green has done, he started to do his thing, especially dropping 41 in that last game, which was meaningless nevertheless, but he did drop 41 in the last game. And he started going off. He went on a stretch where he was dropping 20 to 30 every night. He's a dynamic, athletic. He's an athletic guy. He's a good shooter, surprisingly, because guys are usually as athletic as him. They're usually not that good of a shooter. But Jalen Green is a pretty good shooter. And yeah, man, he gives me that Zach LaVine feeling. Especially considering his play style and how good he is even this early. But yeah, the Rockets got a really good scorer for the future in Jalen Green. And then you got Josh Giddy, he's been really underrated when it comes to this Rookie of the Year race. He's a 6'8" point guard who's a triple-double threat every single night. Especially considering how good of a rebounder he is. He's a pretty okay shooter. He's gonna get better, but he's an okay shooter. But he's a generational talent when it comes to playmaking. When it comes to being a playmaker, Josh Giddy, he's generational in my opinion. The way he's able to get his teammates, in the right spots, and he makes them better when it comes to emphasizing their abilities. And even as a 19-year-old, he was that coach on the floor. I seen him be that coach on the floor that most rookies never do that. Even if they're a great passer or a great playmaker, he started doing that as, going in, into later into the year. But yeah, man, Josh, OKC has found their point guard, and I can't wait to do their offseason breakdown. Because OKC they got the most exciting rebuild going on, especially with all their 50 first-round picks and all that young talent that they have on that team. I'm excited. I can't wait to talk about OKC and their offseason breakdown. But yeah, man, Josh Giddy, he would have won Rookie of the Year in any other year. So, going forward, with Scotty and all those boys going into the future, I can't wait to see what they become, bro. Because this 2021 draft class has the potential to be a top 3 draft class of all time. If all these guys keep going and the way they're projected to go into their careers, this can be one of the top 3 draft classes of all time. and that's not an overstatement. That's real. That's real. But let's go ahead and get into what happened in the playoffs yesterday. I want to get into the games a little deeper than I did in the recap. And y'all remember me saying that the Bulls can, they can make this series competitive after, DeMar DeRozan had that 41-point game, which honestly, that was an overstatement. That was an overstatement. I overrated how good the Bulls could be, because DeMar DeRozan, he had that one great performance in Game 2, and they won in Milwaukee, and especially with Middleton getting injured, I thought they was gonna make this more competitive, but that's not what it's looking like right now. The Bucks went up 3-1, and they looked dominant yesterday. They looked dominant in Game 3 and Game 4, and it didn't look close. It never was close. They had control over the game the whole time. Giannis, again, showed why he's the best in the world yesterday. And throughout this whole series, he showed why he's the best in the world. The Bulls aren't scrubs. So it's not like Giannis is playing scrubs and dominating them. He's playing a team that's actually pretty good, and they've been pretty good throughout the year. So Giannis continues showing why he's the best in the world. And then Jrue Holiday is stepping up like I said he would have to. And honestly, he doesn't really have to step up the way I thought, because the Bulls aren't playing well especially on the offensive end. The Bulls have been honestly the worst offensive team in the playoffs so far, which is, I honestly didn't expect that. But Jrue Holiday is stepping up against him still, nevertheless, even though the Bulls haven't been playing to, the potential that I thought they could play. Holiday has stepped up. And, it's good to see that. It's good to see that, because you never usually see that with Middleton and Giannis and them boys in the lineup. So Holiday has done it, he did it yesterday. But I also want to talk about Grayson Allen, bro, because Grayson Allen coming off of that bench, he's done it in 2 straight games now. The last game, Game 3, he dropped 22 coming off the bench. This game, he dropped like 26 or 27 coming off the bench. So we starting to see a Grayson Allen appearance in the playoffs, especially. This is crazy to see in the playoffs on the road in Chicago. Role players, when it comes to the playoffs, role players usually don't play their best in the playoffs because they're role players. They're going to play their best ball when at home, especially in the playoffs, with the home crowd being there and things of that nature. But yeah, man, Grayson Allen has been a huge help for the Bucks coming off the bench. He's been doing his thing. Grayson Allen has been doing his thing. But when it comes to the Bulls' perspective, even with Lonzo being out, they're starting to show in the series that they have improved from last year, after missing the playoffs last year. But they're starting to show that before we can even think about putting them in a contending conversation, they have a lot of improving to do. And I actually have a trade for them that makes sense for them to improve, and that's going to be in my offseason breakdown for the Houston Rockets. That's going to be coming out either today or tomorrow, depending on the way my schedule goes. But yeah, man, yeah, the Bulls have a lot there. The Bulls have a lot to improve on. They do. And it's not, and I thought it will only be defensively when it comes to the Bulls, but it's also offensively. DeMar DeRozan is an inconsistent player in the playoffs. And he showed that over the course of years. We've seen that over a few years. Zach LaVine hasn't, this is his first playoffs, but throughout the first 3 games or the first 4 games of the series, Zach LaVine hasn't made an appearance yet. I haven't seen Zach LaVine play to the potential that he can play at. Even before before the Bulls got good, LaVine was, if y'all remember, he was dropping 25 to 30 a game, dropping 40 to 50 even. But since, DeMar has gotten there, he hasn't really done his thing, which it makes sense as a second option, but you need him to make an appearance if y'all expect to be a contending team in the future. But yeah, the Bulls just need to come back better next year. They need to come back better. They need to come back healthier. They need all their guys. They need they need Caruso and Lonzo, DeMar Levine. They need all those guys all playing together, because if not, they have no chance. But yeah, man, that's my take on the Bulls and the Bucks. Hopefully the Bulls can make it competitive in Game 5. Probably not, but hopefully they can. But let's get to the Warriors and Nuggets yesterday. Let's go ahead and break that down. And Jokic yesterday, he wills Denver to a Game 4 win, bro. He wills them to a win. And Jokic yesterday, if y'all watched, he refused to get swept. Game 3, I thought he was refusing to lose. But Game 4, Jokic was a whole nother animal, bro. And Jokic continues to show us why he's a reigning MVP. Even after being down 3-1 to Golden State, he's showing you why he's an MVP. I believe before this game started, he was averaging like 29, 13, and 7. Something crazy. But yesterday, he does what he does, and it's like, bro, when he gets Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back, that is going to be scary, bro. That's going to be scary. But yeah, Jokic was dominant doing his, and it's so weird because it's like you watch him and he's this slow, awkward moving, big white guy. But it's like he's so skilled. He's the most, now Jokic is the most skilled player in the league. I want to say that. I just want to say that for y'all who think it's KD and Kyrie. Jokic is the most pure skilled player in the league. He can literally do everything. When it comes to playmaking, the sky hooks, the finishing, the shooting, the step backs, the fadeaways, like the playmaking, the passes that he makes, bro. The passes is crazy. I've never seen, other than maybe LeBron or Chris or Magic or Chris Paul, I've never seen a guy make the passes that Jokic makes, especially as a big man, bro. Especially as a big man, you don't see that. Jokic is generational, bro. I've never experienced watching a big man as skilled as him, bro. It's crazy, and you start to see why he's an MVP and why he's potentially going to be the back-to-back MVP, because of how good he is. And he uses his body. He's also dominant. He's so big and awkward and slow. Like it's so hard to guard him. It's weird. It's weird, but he gets it done. He gives you the production. Monte Morris and Aaron Gordon also, they followed Jokic to that win, bro. Monte Morris, it seemed like he couldn't miss yesterday. If y'all watch that game, it seemed like Monte Morris couldn't miss. Aaron Gordon finally stopped shooting. He stopped shooting as much as he did in the first few games, and he starts using his athleticism and his body to his advantage yesterday. He helped him and Jokic and Boogie Cousins. They all three played a part in Draymond getting fouled out towards the end of the game. And, Monte Morris and Aaron Gordon, they kind of played that Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray role yesterday, which is what the Nuggets really, really needed to avoid getting swept. And, they provided that yesterday. The Splash Bros made an appearance yesterday. They both dropped 30-point games, but they couldn't drag that team to the win. Wiggins also had a 20-point game, so Wiggins had a good game. He played his role defensively. Warriors honestly played an almost flawless game themselves, but Steph Curry had I've never seen this. I'm sure none of y'all ever seen this. Steph Curry missed 4 free throws. He missed 4 free throws, which made him. And once he missed all the free throws, I knew that was going to be the death of them yesterday, because that never happens. He also missed 2 straight free throws. He had one trip to the line where he missed both of them, and I was like, "Yo, what is Steph good? Like, what's going on with him?" And Clay missed a game. He missed a free throw in the fourth quarter too. And I'm like, yo, why are the Warriors all of a sudden turning to bad free throw shooters? Like, I thought that was crazy. That was weird to me. But they still end up, doing their thing. Steph and Clay still ended up doing their thing when it came to trying to will the Warriors to that win. But what ended up causing them to lose was Steph missed free throws, Clay missed a free throw, and Jordan Poole had a bad game. Jordan Poole had an absolutely bad game yesterday. But you see why Jordan Poole had a game. If you watched it, y'all notice even the game prior to this game, in games 3 and 4, even though Jordan Poole had a really good game in game 3, he doesn't look healthy. And the reason to that being is, the reason why you say that is, you start seeing when every time he shoots or does anything for that matter, he holds his wrist. He does, he starts bending down and holding his wrist. And it's on his shooting wrist. It's on the right wrist. So that's starting to play an impact, it looks like, or starting to play a role in him, struggling, especially yesterday. And we should look out for that. That's something to look out for, because the Warriors, they're trying to make a run, but they're gonna need Jordan Poole to make their championship run. And if he's not healthy, then that could end up hindering them in their quest to go winning another ring. But yeah, that's something to look out for, bro. Jordan Poole, he doesn't look healthy. And hopefully with Golden State, they hope that they can go, finish it off in Game 5 in San Francisco, and give their team that rest after the pounding that Jokic get. Oh, pause, pause, bro. After the pounding, but look, especially after the Nuggets physical play. After the Nuggets physical play, and with Jordan Poole going through that injury that he's going through, it's good. It'll be good for them if they could close down Game 5 and get their guys, the rest that they need. But also, bro, y'all know I can't avoid not talking about him, bro. I gotta talk about my Heat. We had another brilliant game defensively. Not good game. We had another brilliant game defensively. We completely took Trae Young out of the game again. We completely took Trae Young out of the game, and we forced the other guys to beat us yesterday, and they couldn't. Obviously, they only had 86 points yesterday. So, obviously forcing the other guys to beat us is the strategy, and that's the strategy we've used for Game 1 and Game 2 also. And they can't do it. And we taking Trae Young out the game. He had 9 points, bro. Trae Young he can't do nothing. And he said in his post-game conference, when he couldn't even look. He had to keep playing in his hair. He was like, "This is the best defense that's been played on me since high school." And obviously this ain't high school. This is NBA players. This is an NBA contender. This is a championship contender he's playing against. And he said himself, "Look, this is the best defense I've ever had to play, or since high school. But this is the best defense he's ever had to play, because these are not high school players. These are NBA championship contenders, bro." But yeah, we completely took Trae out of the game. And Jimmy also had another superstar-like, performance, dropping 36. We also had other guys who contributed, giving us 10, 11, 12 points. But Jimmy, he really had that superstar performance that we really needed to kind of carry us to that win. And, it was also good to see Victor Oladipo on the floor, man. We haven't really got to see him in a while, and he's been struggling with those injuries, and his career has really been derailed by those injuries. But we're the perfect team for him to be on, to try to sort of get back and play in high intensity moments. He made a shot in the fourth quarter towards the end of the game where it was kind of encouraging to see, for him at least, to see the ball go through the basket and try to get a groove and get back to playing at the level that he used to play at. And if Vic could give us 10 to 15 points ish off the game, off the bench, every game, that could really be big in our quest to go win the championship. So it was good seeing Victor Oladipo on the floor again. But yeah, man, Trey's starting to see he playing a whole different beast. This is a whole different beast that he's ever had to play. Um, really, because really defensively, he's never had to play a team as intense, as hardworking, as crazy, even as the Heat. And y'all could see that Heat culture really, it really makes a difference in terms of the way we play and the way the way we get in the playoffs. So, yeah, man, I'm proud of the Heat. We won Game 4, and we gotta go to Miami and close this series out, and try to get some rest. Going into the next series, which we're gonna play Philly. So, yeah, and that was good to see though. And the last thing I want to talk about, last topic, is the Suns. they lose to New Orleans in Game 4, bro. New Orleans ties the series 2-2, and let's be honest, that's not something any of us expected. None of us expected for New Orleans to be able to give the Suns a good run like this. I honestly thought the Suns were. I thought that was a sweep. Personally, I thought the Suns would sweep the Pelicans. Even without Book, I thought, the Pelicans had that, not the Pelicans, the Suns had that series in the bag. But that's not the case. That's not the case, bro. It looks like the Suns really actually do need Book to go ahead and close out this series, because, without Book, they're not dominating the way that they were in the regular season. And the losses that the Suns have had, and the 2 losses that the Suns have had, CP3 absolutely struggled, bro. He had 4 points in this game. He shot 2 from 8 from the field. 4 points, 2 from 8 for the field. Which is terrible. That's bad. That's absolutely inexcusable and unacceptable. In the game, and I believe the other game that they lost, he had like 8 or 9 points. That's bad. And in the 2 games they win, he's closed them out in the 4th quarter. So you're starting to see a trend. When CP3 plays the way that CP3 usually plays, they win. When CP3 doesn't, they will lose. And the Pelicans they're not going to give the Suns an easy time, bro. The Suns are going to really have to fight to get out of this series, to be honest with you. Because the Pelicans, they're not just going to lay down. So yeah, this series is going to depend on Chris Paul's play, bro. And let's give the Pelicans some credit. Bro. BI is really putting that team on his back, bro. He's offensively, he's really putting that team on his back, dropping 30 points this game. And he's showing that he can be a really good playoff performer. Because, B.I. doesn't really get his shine in a regular season. People don't really pay attention to B.I. that much in a regular season. But in this playoffs, he's showing that he can really give y'all something. He can be a really good playoff performer. And Valanciunas, Jonas Valanciunas, one of the most underrated bigs in the league. He shows up, he does his thing. On the boards, especially, in my opinion, that's where his impact really came from, was, getting on those boards and, giving the Pelicans 26 points that they could have really used from Zion, for example. But Zion's not there. So, a role player like Valanciunas stepping up in that sense it's big for them. And then, bro, Jose Alvarado, he's one of the most unlikeliest players to make an impact in the playoffs, especially, but he's doing it, and he's not doing that with scoring. And a lot of young players think that the only way they can make an impact is through scoring, but it's not. Jose Alvarado he's been a beast defensively, and he reminds me honestly of a young Patrick Beverley. That's a young Patrick Beverley, bro. He's doing his thing especially when it comes to being on those inbound passes, those full court presses. He's all like Chris Paul. Honestly, he couldn't really get many shots up because of Jose Alvarado and, you know, the Pelicans defense and the way they've just been swarmed. They swarmed them the whole series, bro. And that whole game, they were swarming them, bro. The Suns couldn't really do much. But yeah, man, the Pelicans, they're formidable, bro. I didn't think I would be saying that. Honestly, I could see why people would have thought that the Pelicans would be this good in the playoffs because of, you know, their late season surge. But bro, they're formidable. And when Zion comes back next year, if they keep this team together, if they keep going on with the way they're going on with this trend, they're going to be a top 6 team in the West next year. They're going to be a really, really, really good team next year. Yeah, the Pelicans have been doing their thing this series, and, you know, yeah, I can't now I'm interested. Now I'm really interested in this series. I can't wait to see what happens, especially, you know, because Book isn't going to be playing. But yeah, let's give the Pelicans a credit. But yeah, y'all boys, we towards the end now of episode. Is this episode 6? This is episode 6. Episode 6, bro. We in there now. We in there now. We doing this. We doing this consistently, and, you know, we trying to get to the top. But we gonna end this off with my predictions for today, and Nets will be playing the Celtics, you know, game 4 today in Brooklyn, and there's nothing that tells me that this will happen or that indicates that this will happen, but I'm going to predict that the Nets avoid a sweep today, and that will be because of KD finally showing up, and he's going to drop 40 or 50 today. And like I said, there's nothing that indicates to me why that will happen or that will happen, but I can't see KD getting swept in the first round, and I can't see him being shut out for a whole series. It just, I can't see that in my head, even after all that, you know, after all that slander I gave him earlier. I believe they're going to take at least one. They're going to take one at home, game 4 at home, and, you know, KD's going to show up and do his thing, and the Nets are finally going to get a W, man. Hopefully they're not the only team in the first round to get swept, because that will be crazy if that was to happen. Then it's like the Nets got some changes to make. They're gonna have some big, even if they don't get swept, they got changes to make. But if they get swept, bro, they gotta make changes. They gotta make changes. They can't keep having this next year. They can't keep having that mentality. Philly, they're gonna be playing, you know, Toronto game 5 at home. You know, they're up 3-1, and I think they close it out. They're going to close it out in game 5. And B is going to continue to show why he feels like he should be the MVP, and he's going to have an MVP performance this game. So, yeah, Philly's going to close it out at home. They're going to close out this series at home. Dallas, they're going back home playing game 5 versus Utah, and I got Dallas taking the win. Especially after what happened last game, they really could have, honestly should have won in game 4, but they didn't win. So I believe going home, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder, and Luka's going to do his thing, but they're going to win because of Dinwiddie and Brunson. In front of that home crowd, they're going to do their thing, bro. They're going to have big contributions to, you know, the Dallas Mavericks going up 3-2 after, you know, game 5 at home. So yeah, man, that's the end of today's episode, and, you know, y'all keep tuning in every day. And I know my numbers suck right now. I know, you know, I'm not there yet. We just started, but I really want to do this, and we're gonna keep doing this every day, bro. We're gonna be on the grind. This is a grind. We're gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep giving y'all content, and hopefully y'all like it. And hopefully, you know, everyone keeps supporting me. You know, even with the small numbers, you know, I appreciate everybody who watches and, you know, subscribes or comments or whatever the case may be. I do appreciate everyone who does that, even if the numbers are low. But yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this every day, and y'all watch out for that next video. The Houston Rockets offseason breakdown. That's gonna be coming out soon. either today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow I'll drop it. But yeah, man, y'all come back for tomorrow, episode 7 tomorrow. And yeah, I'm out. Peace.